if I have the ear of the zeitgeist, right? If I have the ear of the public at large, right? And they say, "Wow, seems like a really smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. Maybe I don't agree with it, but he's obviously not insane." Right? And I've said it the whole time. Put him on a polygraph. Right? Boom, easy. Right? Like put him right? Like let's debate each other in public, right? Right? No more occulted bullshit. Right? So, right, at the highest levels of understanding is the recognition, right, that space is aligned like a coin. Pribram and Bohm's holographic model attests that within every cubic centimeter of space, in terms of information, lies the potential for all manifested reality. Right? And so that is the first half of the coin, right? And it's perpetually in a state of rest as an infinitely complex nesting of polyhedra, right? Here's one example, right? Here's another example. All within all nested inside of each other, right? On the other side of the coin is the impetus for motion, right? Which I often refer to as the divine light of God, the divine light of deity, right? And so, after a time existing in a state of rest, right, the abstract intellectual quality, right, that controls the impetus for motion seeks to express its wisdom. And so, it breeds, exerting pressure upon the static quantum hologram of electric waveform potential and probability. And so, right, if we close this in a circle, in a sphere, right, and then cast a circle around it, that's called a great circle, right? Each degree along the surface of the sphere, right, 360 degrees to the circle, is a potential vector of pressure exerted upon, right, the quantum hologram, right? And so that dihedral, right, that degree or degrees, right, that angles, right, with which the pressure is exerted reflects what we see materialize in the manifested world as matter, right? And so as it exerts pressure, space begins to collapse and greatest friction against itself, right? Collapsing a large volume into a small volume until creating electric resistance. Until eventually the electric resistance is so high, it can no longer remain inert space and erupts into incandescence as matter, right? On and on and on and on and on. This, right? And this is what we call it, the thinking of God, right? Gravitation, right, is thinking, right? It's no Zeus in the clouds throwing lightning bolts, right? It's an abstract intellectual quality, right? Proliferating and manifesting corrupted kinetic shadows of idealized Platonic forms, right? Which is the teaching of Socrates in the allegory of the cave, right? And eventually you end up at atmospheric strata, right? Mineral, vegetable, animal, man, right? And so at the highest level of man, of the unfolding of the divine plan, is the artist, the creator, right? And at the highest levels of those strata is the psychic and the clairvoyant, right? And Quentin Tarantino is a powerful clairvoyant, right? Who uses his mind as a weapon, right? Who violates anyone's mind that he sees fit, right? Why you think Scott Feinberg's interviewing him, right? Because he jumped in his mind and knew that he could control him completely, right? I am also a powerful psychic clairvoyant, right? The most powerful of the millennial generation, right? But I have an ethical standard, right? I have a family, right? I can't go on the offensive at all. Not that I would really want to in the way that he has, right? He stole my fear, right? That's right, like that's a sick degeneracy, right? And so the two of us, right, are locked in this legendary psychic siege, right, where we can't break free from each other, right? That there's no, right? We're stuck together, boom, beyond the edges of eternity, forever, right? And if you cater to the notion of reincarnation, if we both are existing on the mortal coil, right, in another lifetime, we'll be mortal enemies, right? So I've reached out to his agent, right? I sacrificed my job, sacrificed everything, right? Lived on the street for months, all to show him my remorse, to show him that I do respect it, right? Because I do, right? And so now, right? Now we're talking about it, right? Because, right, everything that he did during those months was all a sick joke to him, right? And it's still a sick joke to him. Because he can always go, oh gosh, I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, how unfortunate, right? Where he sees it as some sort of sick spell, right? Just like when he got married in a church of God, right? So help me get the story out, right? Pray for me, right? Share it, right? Like, comment, subscribe, share, right? See what's good in your life. Hold those dear to you close, right? Know that life is not an accident, right? All the best.